Absolutely. We'll start a full 10,000-word POV story from the detective's perspective. Grim, brutal, raw, dark, and graphically detailed. To ensure it's structured properly and immersive, I'll begin with the opening segment and narrative voice. I'll provide a high-intensity excerpt that will set the tone for the entire 10,000-word piece. This will be detailed, first-person, and fully in the detective's mind. Title: Murder Made Men, Part 1. The Detective. The rain cut through the night like broken glass. I pulled my collar up, shivering, not because it was cold, though it was, but because the city smelled of rotted garbage and worse. Blood, I knew, was the real odor. I had smelled it too many times, too recently, and it never left you. It clung to your soul, settled in your lungs like smoke in a chimney, and once you breathed it in, it made you do things that never showed in the daylight. The alley was narrow, slick, and smelled like despair. Neon lights buzzed weakly from the street above, reflecting off puddles in scattered shards, giving the scene a grotesque theatre stage. My boots squelched as I stepped closer, eyes adjusting to the chaos. There he was, or what was left of him. The man's chest had been opened like a gift box, his intestines splayed across the bricks like snake necklaces. One eye stared blankly up at me, the other buried in the blood of his own skull. I crouched, hand on my gun, though I knew it wouldn't matter. The killer had already left. Whoever did this didn't care about fear, didn't care about pain. They were sculptors in cruelty, architects of carnage. The smell hit me then, full and unrestrained, and I gagged. My stomach churned, but I didn't let it show. Didn't need it to show. Not in this city, not to anyone. The knife. I saw it immediately. Stainless steel, serrated edge, still warm. It had been driven in and twisted with a precision that was almost artistic, not careless. Not random. Each cut was deliberate, measured. This wasn't just murder. It was a signature. A message. And the message was clear. I am in control. You are beneath me. I felt it in my chest, that hollow pit that never went away. That hunger to track, to chase, to hunt the bastard before he could strike again. But the city doesn't move fast. The streets are slow, lined with shadows that swallow you whole. I lit a cigarette, letting the smoke curl around my face, tasted it like a bitter promise. Every hit reminded me why I was here, why I did this job. Because men like this, they didn't die by accident, not in my city. I traced the blood trail with my boot, careful, methodical. It led to the dumpsters, behind which the killer had left his mark, some twisted calling card scrawled in blood. Fear is the only truth. My stomach turned again, a warning I ignored. I've smelled death enough to know when the killer wanted me to see his work, to know that he was thinking, watching, waiting. I took pictures, not because I wanted to preserve it, because I had to. Evidence wasn't just legal, it was survival. And survival in this city was a lie. Everybody lies. The dead lie silent. The living lie all the time. And me? I lied to myself every morning when I laced up my boots, every time I saw another corpse, another mangled body. Every time I saw another man turned into meat on bricks. Then I heard it, a soft scuff behind me. My hand went to the gun. I spun, eyes scanning the shadows. Nothing, only the wind carrying the whispers of the city. But I knew he was here. Killers like him always are. They breathe in the same air, they walk the same streets. Sometimes you don't even see them until it's too late. I knelt again, touching the blood with a gloved hand. Warm, fresh. And then it hit me. He wasn't done. No, he had a pattern, a rhythm. And that rhythm, it had already started again elsewhere. I could feel it in my bones. I could taste it. I stood, rain now pelting down in sheets, washing some of it away, though nothing ever truly leaves the blood-stained ground. I flicked the cigarette into the puddle, watched it hiss and die. My jaw tightened. I would find him. I had to. Because if I didn't, the next body, maybe it would be someone I couldn't ignore. Someone close. Someone that would make this a personal hunt instead of a job. And then I realized the line between me and the killer might not even exist anymore. This is the perfect. We're diving straight into the full 10,000-word detective POV for Murder Made Men. I'll structure it in immersive, continuous first-person narration, keeping it grim, brutal, graphic, raw, and detailed throughout. Because of the length, I'll deliver it in sequential chunks, each a deep, high-intensity continuation, so the narrative flows and maintains extreme detail. Here's part one of the full 10,000-word story. Starting from the opening scene I previously set and expanding further into the investigation, psychological tension and raw brutality. Title: Murder Made Men. Part 1. The Detective. Rain-slicked streets reflected broken neon like shards of some sick carnival mirror. Every alley smelled of rot and wet asphalt, and the drizzle carried whispers of a city that had forgotten mercy. I pulled my coat tighter, the leather stiff and soaked, boots squishing with every step. The body I had left behind in that alley was more than a mess. It was a declaration. Whoever did this didn't just kill, they sculpted fear. They wrote terror in the language of blood. I pulled my notebook from my breast pocket, though the pages were likely ruined by the damp. Still, I scribbled anyway, trying to contain the chaos in ink and words. Male, mid-30s, stab wounds, precise, deliberate. Chest cavity torn, intestines splayed, signature left at scene. Weapon: serrated blade, stainless steel. Message: fear is the only truth. I paused, eyes scanning the edges of the alley. Shadows clung to walls like hungry predators. This city doesn't forgive. The living are just ghosts with wallets, the dead are proof of the rot that never leaves. And the killer, he was the rot incarnate. I traced the blood trail to a nearby dumpster. There it was, scrawled in crimson. A message too deliberate to ignore. Fear is the only truth. My stomach twisted. I've seen messages before, but none like this. Personal, intimate, meant to taunt, to make me feel small, weak, vulnerable. I wondered if that's what the killer wanted. Maybe. Maybe he didn't care about me. Maybe he just enjoyed the work. I photographed the scene, careful not to touch too much. Gloves soaked through, but I didn't care. Nothing mattered except catching him. He had a pattern. I felt it in my gut, cold and sharp, like the knife itself. I had to find him before the pattern repeated. 3 days later, the city never stopped bleeding. Every corner had its own violence, but this time it was personal. I was in my office, rain streaming down the glass like tears or blood. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. A file sat open on my desk. More bodies, more signatures, each one more grotesque than the last. The killer was escalating. I lit a cigarette, inhaling hard. Smoke crawled into my lungs, burning away some of the memories, though not enough. I had learned a long time ago that you can't cleanse your soul in smoke. Not when your city is filled with blood. I reviewed the forensic reports. Victims were all male, aged 30 to 45. Cause of death: precise, controlled stabbing, often multiple punctures in specific patterns. Time of death consistent, midnight to 3 a.m. No witnesses. Security cameras often malfunctioned or conveniently cut out. Whoever this was, he wasn't sloppy. He was methodical, meticulous, a predator in the human skin of a hunter. And I knew this. He wanted recognition. He wanted me to find him, to chase him, to feel the panic in the pit of my stomach that I had been suppressing. Scene: a new crime scene. The phone rang, shrill against the hum of the city. I answered, voice rough. "Detective," the officer on the line said. "Another one. 4th and Pine. Looks like the others." I cursed under my breath, grabbing my coat, boots and gun. Rain met me like knives as I hit the street. The scene was worse than I expected. Neon flickered over a body laid in the gutter, arms twisted unnaturally. Blood pooled in shapes that made my stomach revolt, yet I forced myself to kneel. This one, he'd been left half alive. A grim message carved into his torso. Letters jagged, cruel. "Control is mine." I traced the cuts with gloved fingers. Warm. Pain still thrummed in the body, though shallow. Death hadn't claimed him yet, and I cursed the bastard for not finishing it. I had no room for mercy in my line of work, and neither did this killer. I whispered to the victim, voice low, "I'm going to catch him. You won't die in vain." No response came, only the drizzle washing over him like some ironic baptism. Back at headquarters, I pinned photos of all 4 victims to the board. Lines connected wounds, times, locations. Patterns emerged, subtle but undeniable. The killer had a rhythm, a geography. He struck near abandoned areas where the neon was weak and shadows had teeth. Always at night, always precise, always leaving a calling card. I poured myself a drink. Whiskey burned down my throat, fire and blood mixing, keeping me awake, keeping me sane, or as sane as one could be in a city dripping with murder. My reflection in the glass of the window didn't even look like me. Eyes hollow, face pale, lips cracked. I didn't recognize this man, yet he was me. Then the phone buzzed again. Another location. Same pattern, same time window, same twisted signature. The hunt was escalating, and I was the prey now too. The chase, I ran the streets, following the trail. Rain sluiced over asphalt, masking blood, masking sounds, but not the trail in my gut. Footsteps splashed behind dumpsters in abandoned lots across broken glass. I saw him then, a figure moving with silent precision. Black coat, hood pulled low, face obscured. My pulse shot. I drew my gun. The figure turned, head cocked slightly, like he'd been waiting. A smile flickered under the hood. I felt it then. Fear. Real, unadulterated fear, not the kind you pretend to have. He lunged, faster than any man should, knife glinting under a flickering streetlight. I fired. The shots tore through the night, echoing against walls. He twisted, dodged, disappeared. I fell to my knees, rain soaking me, boots slippery. Blood, or was it my own sweat? Mingled with the storm. The hunt was on, but so was the terror. He was testing me, teasing me, marking the game as his. Internal monologue and guilt. I couldn't sleep. Not really. I saw him in every shadow, in every puddle, in every reflection of broken glass. My own reflection haunted me, the detective who hunts death but can't stop it. My hands shook as I replayed every scene, every body, every word carved into flesh. I drank more, smoked more, wrote less. Letters blurred together. Names merged. Blood became wallpaper in my mind, and I wondered if I was still human, or just another predator waiting to kill. Confrontation. Then came the lead. A tip from a junkie, street scum, someone who didn't care about consequences. He described a warehouse on the outskirts, dimly lit, smells of decay, shadows that seemed to crawl. The killer's playground. I approached, gun drawn, flashlight cutting through the black. Puddles reflected jagged light. My boots made soft, wet noises. And there he was, smiling, knife raised, waiting, no words, just the storm, the dripping water, the scent of death. And I charged, every ounce of training, every instinct screaming, every heartbeat echoing in my ears. We collided in a tangle of shadow, steel, and sweat. I barely dodged a slash, the knife grazing my shoulder. Pain erupted, hot and immediate, but I didn't stop. I struck back, punches and kicks, desperate, primal, human. He danced, precise, taunting, a predator playing with its prey. Blood mixed with rain, skin tore, flesh screamed. And still the bastard smiled, eyes cold, unblinking, enjoying every second. At this perfect. We're switching perspectives. Now we're inside the killer's mind. This part will be dark, raw, unflinching, giving a full, intimate glimpse into the predator who orchestrates the murders. We'll maintain extreme detail, psychological intensity, and grim brutality. Here's the killer POV continuation, picking up after the first murders and the detective's pursuit. Title: Murder Made Men, Part 2, The Killer. I watch, always. The city doesn't sleep, but it bleeds. Every siren, every scream, every guttered whisper is music, rhythm, harmony in a symphony only I conduct. They think I'm chaos, that I'm random, but I am precision. I am thought incarnate. Each incision, each wound, a stroke of artistry. Every victim chosen for their relevance, their shape, the way their fear tastes. Tonight, the alley glistens wet and cold. I crouch in the shadows, hood pulled tight, knife in hand, slick with anticipation. The scent of blood still lingers from last night. The detective, he smells it too. He always does. But he doesn't see me. Not yet. Patience. Patience is the luxury of the predator. The first man I selected tonight? Weak, easy. A fool thinking he's untouchable. I stalked him 3 nights in a row, learning the angles of his life, knowing when he breathed, when he moved, when he thought himself safe. Fear is an aroma. I inhale it like champagne. It curls through me, settles in my chest, sharp and intoxicating. And then he smells me. Not fully, not consciously, but instinct twitches. I can feel it. I shift slightly, blade glinting under a flicker of neon. I want him awake, aware. I want him alive enough to feel it, to understand that the city is mine, that I am the pulse in its blackened veins. I strike, and it is clean. Too clean for most. Precision. Art. A slash across his cheek, shallow, just enough to taste fear, to pull a scream from somewhere deep. He twists. I'm faster, always faster. My knife finds home in the soft places, but not too deep. I enjoy the chase. The struggle is poetry. The panic is music. When he finally collapses, the world tilts. Blood pools beneath him, warm, shimmering in the neon glow, and I carve my signature, not for the police, not for anyone, but for him. A message only he will read as he fades. Control is mine. And then I leave. No traces beyond the art. a whisper of shadow, a scent of iron in the rain. Internal rationale. People ask why. Why do I do it? I ask them back, why do you breathe? Why do you eat? Why do you pretend to be human when inside you rot? Killing is understanding. It is clarity. Every cut reveals something. Every scream is a lesson. I am a scholar of flesh and mind, and the world is my textbook. The detective, he fascinates me, a creature of obsession, trying to catch a creature he cannot yet comprehend. He smells of blood and whiskey and desperation. I have studied him. I know his patterns, his weaknesses. He's close, but not close enough. Not yet. And the closer he gets, the more fun it becomes. Tonight I will not strike again. Patience. I wait, I watch. Every movement, every flicker of neon, every heartbeat, I am aware, and when the next one comes he will scream. He will feel fear like a living thing crawling into his chest, and I will be there to greet it. Scene: the Predator's playground. The warehouse is my cathedral. Rusted metal, broken glass, the faint smell of chemicals and decay, it is perfect. Here I prepare, sharpening blades, laying traps, mapping the streets in my mind. Every crime scene is a lesson. Every signature a declaration. The city outside moves blindly, oblivious to the predator living in plain sight. I study the detective's movements, recalling the last chase. His boots splashed in the puddles. His hands trembled slightly when he thought I didn't see. Fear, excitement, obsession, all tangled in him like a symphony. I smile. He will learn eventually, or he will die trying. Reflection and philosophy. People confuse me with madness. They whisper that I am broken, that my mind is fractured, that I am evil. But evil is weak. Madness is pedestrian. I am method. I am precision. I am inevitability. Every life I take, every body I leave is a message, a truth painted in blood. I exist. I watch. I decide who will breathe and who will rot. The detective is my mirror. He wants control, but he cannot have it. Not fully. Not yet. And that knowledge makes me hunger. Hunger sharp, unyielding, pure. The city sleeps fitfully under my gaze. I step into the shadows, knife glinting. Rain slicks my boots, my coat, my hands. But I do not feel it. I only feel the thrill, the anticipation, the game, the hunt. And soon, very soon, he will be mine to test. Perfect. Now we step inside the mind of a victim, a flashback POV. This will be raw, grim, and deeply intimate. Fear, confusion, and the slow realization of the predator's control. It will contrast the detective's and killer's perspectives, showing the human side of the horror. Here's the victim flashback POV, continuing the story. Title: Murder Made Men Part 3, The Victim. I remember the rain first. Not the drizzle that soaked my coat, not the puddles that made my boots squelch. It was the sound, relentless, tapping against the windows, the streets, the world, and somehow against my skull. It was hollow, echoing like the rhythm of something waiting, something patient. I had been walking home late because the office didn't care and bills didn't pause, and the city smelled of wet asphalt and urine and smoke. Neon flickered above me, weak and buzzing. And then it was him. I didn't see him at first, just a shadow that moved wrong, too deliberate in a city of chaos. I felt it before I understood it. My chest tight, throat dry, muscles frozen. Fear, pure and honest, crawling into my stomach, up into my ribs, settling in my throat. I wanted to run, but my feet didn't obey. My body betrayed me before my mind did. He appeared suddenly, black coat, hood low, knife flashing like a reflection of the neon. I thought I could reason, could speak, could bargain. But words are meaningless when the predator is close. I heard only my heartbeat, loud and frantic, drowning out everything else. "Don't scream," he said. Not loud, but close, and the sound cut through me like ice. His hand was steady, deliberate. I realized then that I was being studied. Every reaction, every flinch, every tremor catalogued in his mind. The first cut was shallow, a warning, a message. I felt the pain, sharp, immediate, and it made me realize the inevitable. I understood I could not fight. I could not reason. I could only feel fear, pain, desperation. I remembered my life in flashes, my mother's voice calling me home when I was 6, the smell of my father's whiskey on a Sunday morning, the time I kissed someone and felt something human, fleeting, before it was gone. All of it crowded in my mind as he worked, as he moved with precise, cruel grace. Every incision was a lesson, every slash a punctuation. I screamed only once, and it sounded wrong, weak. My lungs burned. The city outside continued as if nothing existed. Neon lights reflected in my eyes, twisted and fractured. My own reflection in a puddle seemed alien, pale, soaked, terrified. I wanted to vanish into it, wanted it to swallow me whole. He didn't speak again, he didn't need to. Fear hung between us like a tangible thing. I felt my life slipping away, each heartbeat slower, each breath shallower, and yet in that terror, a strange clarity. He wasn't madness. He was method, calculated. I understood too late that I was part of a larger story, part of a ritual, part of something that didn't care for me or anyone else. When I closed my eyes, it wasn't darkness I saw. It was him, black coat, glinting knife, calm, patient. The rain mixed with blood and sweat on my skin. Pain became memory, memory became terror, terror became the only reality. And I thought just for a moment that someone might save me, that a man in a badge, a gun, a coat would appear and stop this. But the streets were empty. The city ignored me. And in that instant, I understood. No one would come. I opened my eyes one last time, watching the neon fracture across wet asphalt, watching my life spill and scatter like the rain itself. And in the reflection, he smiled. This flashback POV